Situated in the east and south region of Cameroon, the Ngoyla Mintom forest has gained prominence over the years, targeted for various purposes by the Cameroon government, the international community, and private companies. The forest plays an important conservation role, acting as a corridor for animals in the Trident, a lowland forest that spans the Republic of Congo, Gabon, and Cameroon. In today's edition of Planet Rise, we are going to be looking at different types of forests in Cameroon, but we are going to focus on the status of the Ngoyla Mintom forest. Stay with us. Our guest in today's edition of the program is a Senior Policy and Conservation Coordinator at the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF Cameroon. He has over 20 years working experience with a conservation organization and is equally the coordinator of the training. He's no other than Mr. Gilles Etoga. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation on Planet Rise.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you. And today we are going to be talking about the different types of forests we have in Cameroon. So I just want to start, the first question is, what are the different types of forests we have in Cameroon?
Thank you. According to the law of forest and wildlife in Cameroon, we have roughly two big types of forests. The first type is what we call the permanent forest, and the second one is the non-permanent forest. Inside the permanent forest, you have protected area, you have logging concession, and you have council forest. Inside the non-permanent forest, we have community forest and some other type of land use that you can have in Cameroon, meaning things like agriculture, mining, and some other activities might be happening inside the non-permanent forest. Just to clarify, in the permanent forest estate, to have an activity inside, you need to have a management plan. Any type of activity that you have in the permanent forest, you have the obligation to have a management plan. Why? Because the government of Cameroon have decided that this is the part of the forest we want to keep as much as possible. So activities allowed inside the permanent forest are under what we call management plan, but for sustainability. That's why you have the management. There's a need to have a management plan. Let's come back to the law, the 1994 law. The 1994 say, okay, we are going to promote participation. And in terms of participation, there's two ways they decided to do. The first one was to share the income that was generated by logging exploitation. Roughly, there's 50% is going to the state and the other 50% is going to community and council. Apart from that, they also decided that they will allocate some space, some piece of land where the community will be able to manage, but also the council, in order to generate some income at the community and the council level. That's why they have decided to allocate council, to create the concept of council forest.
There are critics who also believe that the idea of council forest, the case of Ngoyla Mintom, has never really been successful. What do you have to say to that assertion?
I would say that it's balanced. They might be right, but I would say there's also some points where that I cannot really agree. The political willingness is there to really make concrete what we call participation, that local communities are really involved in the management of natural resources. But the biggest challenge that we had in the area was governance. Till now, it's still governance. We really need to work on governance at all levels.
Tell us more about the challenge of governance.
The governance is that income generated are not well used. The incomes are used for other purposes, not the one we were supposed to work on, so that to alleviate poverty in the area. People are still poor, community are still poor, but you see every day's logs going out. It means that we have an issue, and the biggest issue we really need to discuss with people. Probably the the legal framework is not strong enough. Something needs to be done.
Let's also talk about forest management units. What are forest management units, and what are some of the forest management units we have in Cameroon?
Okay, the forest management unit, FMU, is a piece of land here in Cameroon that is allocated to logging company. Logging company, there's some big companies that are coming to do log exploitation, wood exploitation, timber exploitation to sell abroad, sometimes here in Cameroon. You have some big company, but I will not quote them here because but it's a private company. So they are paying some taxes to the state, and the state is giving that part of land. In the minimum of time to spend on this FMU is 30 years. Okay. Because the government is saying that you need to stay in a place for 30 years for the sustainability. You are not just coming there to cut all the trees 1 year and go away. No, it's for 30 years. And the piece of land that they are giving you, you divided it into 30 pieces. Okay. 30 small pieces, and you have to exploit, organize your logging in one of those small part per year. It means that if you start in the plot 1, the year 2 you'll be in plot 2, the year 3 in plot 3, and so on. And then 30 years later, you will come back on the plot 1 that you have got on the first year of your 30-year cycle. It means that this is for the sustainability reasons. Okay. They will not allow you to go and cut for the entire place. Okay. In 1 year and 2 or 3 years. No, it's for 30 years. So you really need to share your cake, to divide it into 30 parts that will be eaten every year, once a year, 1 a year, 1 a year, 1 a year.
We also have the Technical Operating Unit, the TOU. Can you tell us about this kind of management of forests?
Okay, that's a completely different concept. The Technical Operation Unit is also a block of forests where you have so many types of land use plan. You might be having a protected area, a logging concession, community forest, and council forest in the same block. Okay. That's what we call a Technical Operation Unit. Like Ngoyla Mintom. Ngoyla Mintom is a Technical Operation Unit because of the connectivity and the importance of biodiversity inside. So they have decided that this forest block will be managed in one way, not a different way. But in that type of management, there's a zoning inside. That is to create a logging concession, protected area, community forest, and council forest. But all of those pieces of the block should be managed in the same way and together so that it will avoid over-exploitation.
Now let's talk about the major topic of the day. We're talking about the Ngoyla Mintom forest block. Tell us more about this forest.
Okay, the Ngoyla Mintom forest block is one of the most intact forests that we have actually in Cameroon. The deforestation rate is so low there. Less than 1%, but also the area is covered mostly with the forest. More than 97% of the forest block is forest, really forest, intact forest. So, given that big importance of that area, the government has decided to set up the UTO that we have just talked about to organize a sustainable way to manage that forest. And you should be aware that this area is also important for the government of Cameroon because of the reality that there's a lot of iron under the ground. There's in that UTO we have the road Sambilima West crossing there. You have logging concession. You have the Ngoyla Wildlife Reserve. You also have community forest and the council forest. So this area is so important for the economic growth of Cameroon. But to keep this growth sustained, we really need to take some specific action.
WWF has been working in this area for a long time. Can you tell us what have been some of the biggest success area in the Ngoyla Mintom Forest Conservation Project?
We have succeeded after 5 years of biomonitoring to map out elephant corridors that are between the Ja Wildlife Reserve and the Ngoyla Mintom Wild Reserve going to Leke National Park. This is something that is really important because one of the aim of the Tridome landscape is to keep connectivity between the protected area. So when we are going on the table to discuss with other sectorial ministry and the ministry in charge of land use planning in Cameroon called MINEPAD, we have to bring the proof of existing connectivity between protected area. And that will be taken into account when they are going to decide the type of allocation that they want in the area.
Forest conservation project never really worked, especially with regards to the sale of carbon credit. We understand this forest was supposed to be secured for the sale of carbon credits, something that never really worked. What went wrong?
No, it's not that it went wrong. In fact, the carbon market and all of the carbon stuff are quite complex. It's not so easy to manage. The tools are not ready. For instance, for the moment, we don't have in Cameroon the readiness plan of RED Plus. So it's a bit complicated to talk about carbon market and carbon stuff now. No, the first thing to have is to have the capacity of carbon stock in Cameroon, and to do that it is a specific complicated study, and for the moment we don't have the resources for that. That's the simple reason. But at least the government of Cameroon have allocated two forest management units that are there, not allocated to private sector for the moment, and that will be used for the purpose of carbon stock.
This forest faces a wide range of challenges and is a potential source of many conflicts. The indigenous people such as the Baka complain that discussions about this forest block are usually done without taking into consideration the view of the Baka people as well as other forest adjacent communities. You have worked in this area for long. What do you have to say about this apparent worry of the Baka people as well as other indigenous communities in the Ngoyla Mintom forest area?
I've been in that area for more than 20 years and I've been working there. It's not that I'm not just going there to visit. I've been staying there in that area. I need to say that what is said is partially true. But now there's a whole process of getting indigenous people back more and more involved in natural resource management. I will tell you that I think that Cameroon is one of the first country to sign an agreement that will let indigenous people to get inside a national park, fully protected area to harvest resources for their livelihood needs. But there's still a lot to do to really make it effective. The Baka are there. They need to go anywhere they want because they were the first to be in the forest. Regulations, creation of protected just came after and meet the Baka that were already there. So it's partially true, but comparing Cameroon to other countries, I would like to say that the country is really on a good track that will really make the effectiveness of Baka managing with other, the Bantu, the government, the private sector, the natural resources of this important area.
And that was it. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation on Planet Right. It was such a pleasure having you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And for you back at home, I want to say a very big thank you for watching the program. Take another rendezvous with us when it will be a fortnight. I've been your regular host, Regina Leke Tandag, wishing you goodbye and God bless.